Good Friday afternoon, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the I Love CVille Show. Thank you kindly for joining us on a glorious day to be alive, a Friday, with about 5 or 6 hours left in the workday here. We're live in Charlottesville, in Albemarle County, across Central Virginia, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world, on the I Love CVille Network. It's a good show we have lined up for you, including the governor's office announcing relaxed COVID restrictions, which will start on May 15th. What does this mean for restaurants, breweries, wineries, music venues, and wedding venues? Well, we will have that update for you on the I Love CVille Show. We'll also talk more than 30 colleges in America have already gone on record and have said they will require COVID vaccinations before enrollment is allowed at the school in the fall. I'll let you know what the 30 colleges, the 30 plus colleges are, and we'll take a deep dive to see how this could impact college decision making, the application process, the enrollment process across the country. I want to highlight what sports tourism has done for Richmond, Virginia, a city that is 55 minutes down the road from Charlottesville in Albemarle County. We'll compare sports tourism in 2019. We'll remove 2020 because it was the COVID year. We'll take a look at the 2019 numbers in Richmond, and we'll assess the impact sports tourism has had on the Richmond market, and we will ask this question: why is sports tourism not being prioritized in Central Virginia? We'll also talk Mamadi Diakite and his new multi-year contract with the Milwaukee Bucks. Diakite crushed the G League, and as a result, the ownership and leadership in Milwaukee is rewarding the UVA product with a big-time multi-year contract. And how about a look on gambling in the Commonwealth? $628 million has been wagered online in the Commonwealth since gambling was allowed in January of this year. You heard me correctly. $628 million. FanDuel and DraftKings, the heavy hitters, a couple of $1 million of that $628 million has been paid from a tax standpoint. So we'll take a look at what gambling has done for the Commonwealth from a revenue generation standpoint, and we'll see if we can make a correlation to some of the other industries that are on the verge of really making a splash in Virginia and across Central Virginia. I think the lead of the show, however, should be the governor, and this week something the governor has done kind of under the radar. Folks, he opened up seating from a bar standpoint. We highlighted that yesterday on the I Love CVille Show. Now you can go to bars in the Commonwealth, sit at the bar. You and a buddy can be next to each other. The other bar seating has to be 6 feet away. So the restrictions are relaxing. On the 15th of May, Governor Ralph Northam said yesterday that social gatherings can start upticking. For example, people outdoor gathering can now uptick to 250 people. Indoor gathering can now uptick to 100 people on May 15th. Social gatherings will be limited to 100 people indoors and 250 people outdoors. That is a huge boon for the wedding and private event industry. I will repeat that. On the 15th of May, under executive order, Virginians will be subject to the following limitations. Social gatherings can go to 250 people outdoors on the 15th of May. Indoors, up to 100 people. Indoor entertainment venues will be allowed to operate at 50% capacity or 1,000 people, which is an uptick from 30% capacity indoors or 500 people. Outdoor music venues. On the 15th of May, outdoor music venues will be allowed to operate at 50% capacity with no cap on individuals. I mean, this is big time stuff here. The limit on spectators at indoor sporting events will be 50% of the venue's capacity. Outdoor sporting events will also have a 50% capacity cap that maxes out at 1,000 people. Restaurants on the 15th of May can go back to serving alcohol until 2 a.m. Dining rooms no longer have to close down at midnight. So folks, April has January, February, March, 31 days in April. It's the 23rd of April. On the 15th of May, which is what? 23 days from now, the wedding industry, the live music industry, the restaurant industry, the music venue industry, and entertainment in totality will have a massive uptick in what they can allow from a human body standpoint at their respective venues. This flew under the radar. This is flying under the radar. I don't understand why the governor's office and leadership in the Commonwealth is not making as big of a splash when it comes to these relaxed COVID restrictions. Why is the pomp and circumstance not as prominent, as in your face, the relaxed circumstances as the stricter circumstances were? When the governor was hosting his press conferences in the midst of this pandemic, it was must-see TV. The governor of New York was must-see TV. The governor of Virginia was must-see TV. Now that we're getting on the other side of this pandemic, and the reason we're getting on the other side of this pandemic is because needles are getting in people's arms, we're wearing masks, and we have better understanding of what's happening with COVID-19. As a result, we're getting on the other side. What I would have liked to have seen from the governor's office and from leadership in the Commonwealth is the same pomp and circumstance, the same splash, the same attention allocated to relaxing the restrictions as we saw with imposing stricter restrictions. We have, over the last 14 months, when was the ACC tournament? ACC tournament last year was when COVID-19 really shut down the Commonwealth. That was in March. So we're 13 plus months into this here. 13 plus months, I would love to see the top elected official in the Commonwealth offer the same attention to loosening restrictions as he did to tightening the restrictions. 13 months in, and small and medium-sized business owners across the Commonwealth, those that have survived, and many have failed and closed their doors, those who have survived and are fighting tooth and nail to get to a benchmark like May 15th, when weddings and music venues and breweries and wineries and restaurants and entertainment venues can get darn near close to back to normal. They, I can assure you, the staff, the proprietors, the folks that run these venues and businesses would love the same attention to the looser restrictions as the attention that was given to the stricter ones. 15th of May, it may be flying under the radar, but on the 15th of May, the wedding business gets back on track. And that wedding business is a supply chain that employs a hell of a lot of people in Central Virginia. When you can go to a 250-person outdoor wedding on the 15th of May, you can get back to having the weddings that we've seen in Central Virginia at places like Pippin Hill, Keswick, Trump, King Family, Castle Hill, just to name a few. We will cover the relaxed restrictions as we get closer to the 15th of May, because it's important for the small and medium-sized business owners that have survived and fighting tooth and nail to survive, for them to get the same attention allocated to these looser restrictions as the attention that was allocated to the stricter ones. It's just what's right. Now let's talk COVID vaccinations. I think we're all seeing a world where a vaccination passport is on the horizon. There are 30 colleges now that have gone on record in the country that said you can't come to our school in the fall, live in our dorms, go to our classes, and enroll in our institution unless you have proof of vaccination. Some of those schools include Yale University, Georgetown University, Stanford University, Wesleyan University, Grinnell College, Boden College, George Washington University, American University, Emory University, Clark Atlanta University, Morehouse College, Spelman College, College of the Atlantic in Maine, Seattle University, Vassar, Manhattanville College, Fairleigh Dickinson University, Assumption University in Massachusetts. All those colleges mentioned, including Duke University, Brown University, Northeastern University, the University of Notre Dame, Syracuse, Ithaca College, Cornell, Rutgers, DePaul, Columbia, Nova Southeastern, Roger Williams in Bristol, Rhode Island, Fort Lewis College, Colorado, St. Edward's University in Austin, Texas. All of them are requiring proof of vaccination before enrollment is allowed this fall semester. That list will grow, and as that list grows, others will feel compelled to join the bunch. I think parents, I think thought leaders, stakeholders in education, people that are looked upon for guidance, folks that have influence or a platform, whether you like to hear this or not, the vaccine passport concept is coming quick and fast. It's going to start with theme parks. It's going to start with airlines. It's going to start with universities and colleges. And theme parks and airlines and universities and colleges will set the tone. And the tone they will set is you cannot participate in our business model unless you show proof of vaccination. When universities and colleges, airlines and theme parks require proof of vaccination, that will create a trickle-over effect, a keeping up with the Joneses effect, a perception is reality effect for other businesses. I would not be surprised if you see no shirt, no shoes, no vaccination, no service. I would not be surprised if you see a bouncer that is not only checking IDs to make sure you're 21 before getting into a venue or checking your ticket stub. That bouncer is not only in the future going to check your ticket stub, check your date of birth, but also check your proof of vaccination. That's where we're headed. It's coming fast. It's coming hard. And there's many in this community and this country and in this Commonwealth that feel a vaccination passport is an intrusion on liberties. If enough businesses say no shirt, no shoes, no service, no shirt, no shoes, no vaccination, no service, if enough theme parks say no vaccination to get in, if enough airlines say no vaccination, you can't board, if enough colleges and universities say no vaccine, no enrollment, this will trickle over to other sectors of business. And in that scenario, you'll have, unless there's some kind of government mandate, and I don't see a government mandate or edict coming anytime soon. I don't see the Biden administration doing that. I don't see Governor Northam's administration doing that in the Commonwealth. If Terry McAuliffe gets this victory and he's an overwhelming favorite to win the governor's office, I don't see McAuliffe doing this. If you do not get this edict, if you do not get this law from federal or from the Commonwealth, the governor's office, that says vaccinations are required from a business-to-business standpoint or a business-to-customer standpoint, if you do not get that law, and I don't see that happening, I envision a marketplace that is comprised of businesses with some emphasizing the vaccination and needing to see proof of vaccination before the business owner or his or her staff will do business with the customer. That's going to happen. I also see another group of businesses and another group that's going to say, hey, we feel this is an intrusion on our liberties. We're not going to go down this road of needing proof of vaccination. And then the marketplace, you and me, customers, people, citizens, residents, will be left to determine this. Do we want to support the businesses that require the proof of vaccination, or do we want to support the businesses that do not require the proof of vaccination, that are basing this lack of requirement or no requirement on a foundation tied to civil liberties and rights? That's where we're heading. And it could happen as early as the end of this year or next year. We will have a capitalistic marketplace where some businesses will require the proof of vaccine before they will take your money. And we will have a capitalistic marketplace where some businesses will say, that is not a requirement. We will still do business with you without proof of vaccination. And that is the next layer of the onion that will be politicized. We've seen masks politicized, right? Did we not see that in 2020? Wearing a mask became a political statement. What was the next evolution we saw? Wearing two masks. The New York Times said the double mask is the new mask on the front page of the world's newspaper. So wearing the protective mask, the medical mask under the designer mask became the next political statement, right? What's the political statement being made now? It's over vaccinations. Many in favor. I personally got the Johnson & Johnson. Many opposed for a number of reasons. But getting the vaccination has been politicized, just like wearing the mask was politicized. The next layer of the onion to be politicized, you heard it here, I know you already know this, is the proof of vaccination or the vaccination card. That's the next layer of the onion to be land drawn in the sand. What side are you on? And frankly, I'm torn on that. I'm torn on that. Curious of your thoughts. We'll get to your comments. Put them in the feed. Scott Aaronworth, glad to see you're in Charlottesville, Virginia, my friend, on a fantastic food tour. Scott Aaronworth, the Virginia Beach Esquire who watches this show, is all over Charlottesville right now supporting, in Albemarle County, supporting restaurants. We'd love to have you in Charlottesville, Scott Aaronworth. All right, I want to give you some numbers. By now, you guys know that I'm running for Board of Supervisors, Albemarle County, Scottsville District. CBS 19 did a fantastic story that aired on the 5 p.m. news yesterday, the 6 p.m. news yesterday, the 11 p.m. news yesterday. It's online at cbs19news.com. Macy Moore's Moors. I think I'm saying your last name right. She's a fantastic reporter. She did a hell of a job. I was on the Joe Thomas morning show yesterday as well. News Talk 107.5 FM. Joe Thomas was a one-time boss of mine when I was a broadcaster. One of the key tenets in the campaign is sports tourism. And I'm going to put some tangible data, some numbers behind why this is of importance to me. I'm going to use Richmond, Virginia as the example. And I'm going to give you some data from Richmond to show you the impact that sports tourism is having on the capital city of the Commonwealth. 2019 numbers, okay? 2020 was a wash because of COVID. These are 2019 numbers. 8 of the top 10 dates for hotel occupancy in the Richmond region in 2019 were connected to amateur and professional sporting events, according to a report from the Richmond Region Tourism Department. 8 of the top 10 hotel occupancy dates in 2019 were associated with amateur and professional sporting events. The NASCAR fall race in 2019 had the highest single night hotel occupancy at over 92%. Look, I'm going to cut to the chase. The chances of Charlottesville, Central Virginia, Albemarle County getting a NASCAR race or any kind of race, NASCAR ride, automobile-wise, truck series-wise, is not going to happen. However, the chances of getting a youth soccer event are very likely. Here's a great stat for you. During the weekend of March 29th and 30th in 2019, the Boys Jefferson Cup, it's a youth soccer tournament, along with other events including the Virginia Education Association's annual conference. This soccer tournament and this annual conference had the second best hotel occupancy in the Richmond region. Over 91% of rooms were occupied in the Richmond region because of this youth soccer tournament. A girls' soccer tournament on March 23rd, the weekend before, had the 5th best hotel occupancy in the Richmond region in 2019. Here's a crazy stat for you. The Jefferson boys and girls soccer tournaments in Richmond attracted more than 50,000 youth soccer players from across the United States. 50,000 players, coaches, parents, college scouts, and family members. I need to stand up for this. Can I stand up for this? Okay, if you need to, go to the studio camera first. Please. The 2 soccer tournaments, the Jefferson boys and the Jefferson girls soccer tournaments that attracted more than 50,000 people to the Richmond area. Do you understand how much economic impact it had on the region? We're talking 4 weekends out of 52 in Richmond. 4. Do you want to know the economic impact it had on the region? It had a $25 million impact on the region, according to the Richmond Region Tourism Nonprofit. $25 million impact 4 youth soccer tournaments had on the region. You get some soccer fields that are turf, that have lights. You use the University of Virginia and its women and boys men's soccer programs. You get soccer in the Wilson family, Matt and Andy Wilson, and you host some freaking soccer tournaments, some tennis tournaments, some pickleball tournaments, some mountain biking tournaments, some lacrosse tournaments. Can someone explain to me why 2 of the best soccer programs in all of college soccer, UVA men and women's, and 2 of the best lacrosse programs in all of college lacrosse, UVA men's lacrosse and women's lacrosse, how those 4 programs have not been the foundation for Mid-Atlantic-wide soccer and lacrosse tournaments Can someone explain why that doesn't exist to me? We got a budget. I'm going back to sit down, so if you want to go to the camera 3, I think we've numbered it. We got a county, Albemarle, that has a roughly $400 million budget. $400 million roughly budget a year to run the county of Albemarle. We got a city in Charlottesville that's got roughly a $200 million a year budget. Those are back of the napkin metrics and numbers for you. Albemarle County, roughly 400 mil to run the county a year. City of Charlottesville, it's 10.2 square miles, hell of a lot smaller than Albemarle. Charlottesville is roughly 200 mil a year to run. I just explained and relayed numbers from Richmond Region Tourism that 4 youth soccer tournaments, 2 for girls and 2 for dudes, generated a $25 million economic impact on the Richmond region. If we cannot see, as a region, Central Virginia, that we are missing on low-hanging fruit, and the low-hanging fruit is tax dollars and economic stimulus that comes from sports tourism and sports tournaments. If we don't see that, then we're not running the municipalities with common sense. Lloyd Snook says in NBC 29, Lloyd Snook said to either NBC 29 or CBS 19 yesterday, I'm a news junkie. I crave news. I love news. I love to read. I have an insatiable appetite for reading. National, regional, and local. Lloyd Snook, Counselor Snook, says to either CBS 19 or NBC 29, if we're going to continue doing what we're doing in the city, there's no question we're going to raise taxes. Albemarle County, we're going to have to raise taxes. Everyone's got a deficit, a shortfall, because of COVID. We're not even sure how long this deficit or this shortfall is going to last because we're uncertain how human behavior and whether human behavior, social behavior has changed. Do we know for certain, do we know yet for certain that the American population, the Albemarle County population, the city of Charlottesville population, the Central Virginia population, do we know for certain that this population is confident enough to eat dinner, eat lunch, eat breakfast inside a restaurant, sitting at a bar stool with someone elbow to elbow next to them? Do we know yet? We don't. Do we know for certain in the city, in Albemarle, in Central Virginia, do we know for certain that folks are going to feel comfortable going back to a 250-person wedding on the 15th of May when 250-person weddings are allowed? We don't know that for certain. We don't know if COVID and these 14 or 15 months that we've gone through, we don't know if that's truly changed social and human behavior. Now, I am a man that is a betting man, that is an optimistic man, that is a glass is half full man, that is a man that understands that people, humans, men and women, crave social and human interaction. I do. I know most of you do. And because we crave human and social interaction, my bet, my crystal ball says eventually we're going to get back to crowded bars where we're elbow to elbow at happy hour. Crowded bars where we're not opposed to eating our entree at the bar because all the seats are taken on a Friday night at our favorite restaurant. Crowded concert venues at the Jefferson or the Southern or the Pavilion. A 250-person wedding at Keswick or Pippin or King Family or Trump. I'm ready for it. It might take some time to get there, but I'm ready for it. Snook in the city, city council in the city, the board of supervisors in the county, they're all saying we're going to have to raise taxes. Instead of raising them, why not find new sources that diminish the tax burden on residents and citizens. Find new sources like sports tourism. Why is Richmond taking 4 soccer tournaments and keeping the $25 million economic impact it has in 1 year? Why aren't we going after those dollars? You know what the best thing about a mom and dad and a little Junior and a little Sally and a grandma and grandpa that come to a soccer tournament? They come to the soccer tournament and they say, here's my credit cards. Let's spend some money at the restaurant. Here are my credit cards. Let's book some hotel rooms. Here are my credit cards. Let's stop by Mincer's. Get some UVA apparel. Maybe Johnny will consider the University of Virginia for college. Let's walk down the corner. Let's walk down the downtown mall. Let's spend 2 or 3 days here and let's get the hell out of Dodge because our lives await us back in the other state we live in. They don't tax the roads. They don't tax the schools. They get the hell out of Dodge after spending buku bucks. This is common sense to me. Common sense to me. Ray Cadell is watching the program. Ray Cadell got hit hard because of COVID. The man does weddings. The man does music. He also does real estate. And Ray would say on this show on the mic that he was fortunate to have his fantastic real estate business during these 14 or 15 months that we call COVID, because that was the source of income for Ray. It was not playing the trumpet. It was not charming and entertaining guests at weddings. It was not booking bands through his fabulous band booking business all over the country, because that was put on ice for 14 days, for 14 months. Ray Cadell says, as of May 15th, you're right. What a shame for my May 1, May 2, and May 8th wedding clients, but good news in general. Although 100 inside is still weak, and it does not include staff, banner, etc., or is that a guest number, I'm still fighting, by the way. It is a good start. You know, it's interesting. We have these ghost dates, or these ghost timestamps. Like, how about this one? You can't go to church after midnight. A restaurant can't serve food after midnight, can't serve booze after midnight. The governor says, 15th of May. We'll pick a date, the 15th of May. Things will go back to a little bit more normal. Just random dates and timestamps. You can't worship, go to worship service at a church after midnight, but you can go in the afternoon, the early evening. You can't get booze from a restaurant at 12:01 a.m., but you can at 11:59 p.m. You can't have a 250-person wedding outside, as Ray said, on May 1 or May 2nd or May 8th, but you can have a 250-person wedding outside on May 15th. It's like COVID knows the time of day, and it's like COVID knows the day on the calendar. All right. Couple other items out of the notebook. Major changes at NBC 29 continue. Guys, I used to work at NBC 29. I worked at NBC 29 for almost 6 years. My first job coming out of the University of Virginia was as a staff writer at the Daily Progress. I parlayed that into syndicated radio, 3 states, 12 affiliates, many of them ESPN affiliates. I did 6 days a week of radio talk show, 3 hours a day, the Jerry Miller Show. So when I'm writing for the newspaper, I'm doing 6 days a week of radio on 12 affiliates in 3 states, the Jerry Miller Show, and at the same time I'm doing 2 TV shows on NBC 29. Varsity Lights with Jerry Miller, that aired for almost 6 years at 11:30 a.m., on WVIR NBC 29, and the Jerry Miller Show that aired on Saturday mornings at 11:30 on CW 29. That show ran for about 5 years. I know that station inside and out. David Folke, the news director at NBC 29 right now, was the assistant news director behind Neil Bennett when I was there. Major changes today announced. Get it on screen. Matt Tallhelm is out at NBC 29. He's going to another station. That station in Raleigh, Judah, is that right?
Let's see. Yeah.
Matt Tallhelm going to Raleigh. Matt is a phenomenal journalist. In the last handful of months, we've seen Marty Hutloff, sports director at NBC 29, leave the station. We've seen Henry Graff leave the station for Richmond. We've seen Sharon Gregory, after 25 years, leave the station. That was a couple weeks ago. Now Matt Tallhelm leaving the station. Folks, local news is in a precarious position. And take it for someone, me, who's worked at the Daily Progress as a staff writer, as an editor as well. When I worked there, it was Media General that owned the paper. Now it's Lee Enterprises. I also worked for George Reed at Monticello Media. That's when Joe Thomas was my boss. I was doing a sports talk show called Sports Rap. I also worked at 840 WKTR doing a syndicated talk show from that affiliate in Greene County. Worked for NBC 29 as well. And from somebody who's been in the inside of TV, print, and radio, I'm here to give a very unemotional, unhyperbolized warning. This is legitimate. Local news, as we know it, is being destroyed. You got the Daily Progress that is now owned by Lee Enterprises. Lee Enterprises is trying to become a publicly traded company. In releasing information, you have to go through a number of steps before you can be a publicly traded company. One of those steps is talking about assets and liabilities and your path to profitability. Lee Enterprises has sold the Daily Progress building on Rio Road. They're going to ask their staff writers to use a little second floor cubby area as the new newsroom. They're talking about doing away with the print product altogether. They're stripping the business of its most valuable assets, staff and personnel, and replacing staff and personnel with either green reporters, 22, 23-year-olds fresh out of college, and I've been there. Being a 22-year-old at a newspaper is tough sledding because the newspaper business is all about who you know, connections, and the stories that you're hearing. And when you're 22 and new to a market, you know nobody. The Progress will be stripped of its personnel. NBC 29 is now owned by Gray Communications. Gray Communications is a massive television broadcaster, and Gray, frankly, is doing the same thing Lee Enterprises did, or is doing. They are stripping the staff of its most expensive personnel. Sharon Gregory, Marty Hutloff, Matt Tallhelm, Henry Graff. I'm hearing rumblings that the CVille Weekly is in a very, 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 very precarious position. So much so that the CVille is thinking about closing its office. These are rumblings and gurglings. This is the scuttlebutt on the street. Is thinking about potentially closing its office on the downtown mall. The new local player, I can't believe I'm saying this. CBS 19 got purchased by Lockwood Broadcast Group. And Lockwood Broadcast Group at least has ties to Virginia. Its main office is located in Hampton. It has an operation headquarters in Richmond. Some of the C-suite staff has ties to the University of Virginia. CBS 19 may be the local source of news from a traditional media standpoint. Charlottesville Radio Group is owned by Saga Communications, one of the largest radio players in the world, certainly the country. Your local traditional outlets are going to be Monticello Media and maybe CBS 19 with its headquarters in Richmond and in Hampton, at least in the state. Matt Tallhelm will be missed. The man had a talent for telling stories. And if we don't watch, you're going to be left with a journalism and local news scene that's going to be this network probably is the top player. Charlottesville Tomorrow, right up there with us because they have staff and resources. We're for-profit. Charlottesville Tomorrow is non-profit. And then a couple of independent, talented news junkies. Sean Tubbs, Neil Williamson, Jordy Yeager. It's a crazy time because it's the news that holds government and stakeholders accountable. And when you diminish or erode or destroy, disappear, downright wipe out local news, which is happening before our eyes, the watchdogs that hold people of power and influence accountable, those watchdogs go away. And then the people of power and influence have more latitude to do things that perhaps they otherwise would not do if there was somebody covering their actions on the record. All right, a couple more items out of the notebook. Mamadi Diakite has signed a multi-year contract with the Milwaukee Bucks. Mamadi Diakite, who might be best known for hitting the biggest shot in Virginia basketball history after a pass from Kie Clark in the Final Four, has got a contract with the Bucks after going undrafted as a free agent. He took a two-way player deal where he was playing in the G League and in the Bucks, and he turned that into a multi-year deal in the National Basketball Association. And you want to know how Mamadi Diakite did that? He did it by performing. Proof of performance. The dude played in 12 games in the G League. In 12 games in the G League, he averaged 18.5 points a game, 10 rebounds a game, 2 blocks a game, and 2 dimes a game. He shot 60% virtually from the field and 50% from downtown. This guy was on the All-NBA G League first team, the All-NBA G League All-Defensive team, the All-NBA G League All-Rookie team, and finished second in Rookie of the Year voting in the G League. He's now playing with Giannis and a Milwaukee Bucks team that has NBA championship aspirations. Diakite's best basketball is still way ahead of him. Remember, this is a product of Africa, of Guinea, I believe is where Mamadi Diakite is from. This dude started picking up basketball late in life. At 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", with length, with hops, with athleticism, and still a tremendous future of bright basketball ahead of him because he hasn't been playing this long, this guy is going to be a beast. I see him being more than a role player in the NBA. Congratulations, Mamadi Diakite. A lot more expectations from you, sir, because your future is super bright, but a multi-year contract in the NBA is something we're going to champion on the show. All right, last item out of the notebook. Remember when we were talking about Virginia legalizing gambling? Commonwealth? And I said on the show, look, COVID-19 and this pandemic has put tailwinds, momentum, behind gambling and cannabis. Commonwealth and local jurisdictions need more money. Gambling and cannabis are two options. According to a report from the Associated Press, state officials say gamblers in Virginia wagered more than $628 million since late January of this year on sports betting. $628 million. From a market share standpoint, FanDuel has about 53% of that market share in the Commonwealth. DraftKings, 24% of that market share in the Commonwealth. Guys, just wait till the brick and mortar casinos come online. Wait till the brick and mortar casinos hit southwestern Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, the 757 and the Hampton Roads area. We're seeing $628 million wagered from late January until now. That is February, March. We're talking 3 months, 90 days, 628 mil. Wait till online gambling becomes even more ubiquitous and accessible and is combined with brick and mortar casino gambling. You're going to be talking about a $5 billion with a B industry or more in the Commonwealth per year. And if you think gambling is going to generate a hell of a lot of revenue, wait until you see what cannabis does. In 90 days, $628 million was generated in the Commonwealth from online gambling. What happens 2 or 3 years from now, 4 years from now, when online gambling is a part of the everyday vernacular and vocabulary, and then you have 6 brick and mortar casinos in Virginia for people to go to? What's going to happen in 2024 when cannabis is legalized? You're looking at 2 industries, gambling and cannabis, that I would bet today, and I'm a gambling man myself, I would bet today that gambling and cannabis 5-7 years from now are going to be $5 billion a year industries for the Commonwealth of Virginia. I will bet you. And I bet you that's a conservative number. Should Central Virginia be prioritizing some kind of brick and mortar casino? I don't have that answer. I'm torn on that answer. I don't have a yes or no for it or a stance. I'm asking you the question. Should Central Virginia be trying to prioritize some kind of brick and mortar casino for Central Virginia? I don't have that answer for you. I will say, if there is no brick and mortar casino within 20, 30 miles of the city of Charlottesville, people are just going to get in their vehicles and they're going to drive to Richmond, southwestern Virginia, or the 757, play craps, play blackjack, play roulette, play the slots, go to the sports book. Just because we don't have one doesn't mean people aren't going to do it. Oftentimes in life, whether it's professional, whether it's personal, whether it's intimacy, whether it's managing folks, whether it's trying to assess where the business should go, you come across a handful of different personality types. One of the personality types I've come across is individuals who are unafraid to lead, unafraid to take risk, individuals who see things before others do, vision. Other personality types I've come across is folks that want to associate themselves with the folks that take the risk, have the vision, or are willing to have the courage to make the big decisions that are hard, that keep people up at night. I'm curious to see when one of these big decision makers, one of these visionaries, one of these thought leaders in this 300,000 person region, I'm waiting to see who's going to be the first to jump on the pedestal and loudly scream, "Look at this booming industry that's cannabis, and where does it fit in Central Virginia? Look at this booming industry that's gambling, and where does it fit in this community? Does it fit?" The reason why folks are hesitant to get on that pedestal and use the bullhorn and to proclaim a plan for these two emerging sectors is it because of the perception that's associated with both. It's time to shake the perception, realize where the markets are going, and put a plan in play to capture the opportunity that's around the corner. That's the show. It's a Friday. We got relaxed COVID restrictions on the 15th of May. We got a Richmond region that's collected north of $25 million in 2019 from 4 youth soccer tournaments. 25 million economic impact. We got a local news stratosphere, epicenter, a local news area, Central Virginia, that's being ravaged by big corporations that are out of market. We got a University of Virginia product in Mamadi Diakite that is actualizing a childhood dream of being a full-time NBA player. And we got a region in Central Virginia that if we're not careful, is going to continue to get more and more unaffordable, to get more and more homogenous in how it looks, going to get more and more prioritized on wealth. It's happening right before our eyes. It's time we do something about it. All right, that's the show. I'm Jerry Miller. Keep it local, guys, this weekend. Keep it in the community. Keep it local in the community. Support the businesses that we want to keep around. Support the businesses we want to keep in this community. Keep it local. We'll see you Monday. Have a good one.